Welcome to the Coalition of Scrubs, and yes, that was all of our collective natural voices singing.
Hey, what's up guys, Dankimus Prime here, coming out with a brand new video over here on the Coalition of Scrubs. I am here with my lovely co-host, Carnage 25, over here from Team Chaos Stream. How's it going, friend?
Going good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. We are here talking about the ban list for 2020. Now, this is more of a, I guess you could say, either a meta call hit, or what we think will actually be hit, and some wish list options too. So,
yeah, I think the three reasoning was a dead giveaway.
Oh, absolutely. So, we're just going to hop straight into the band, just to get the, quick stuff out of the way. So, to start us off, everybody's favorite, the very fun dragon.
Also known as Everybody Wants You Gone. That's why you're here.
Yeah, pretty much. The reason why this card is on here is, I mean, if you don't know, then you're living under a rock.
Yeah, I think Calamities is self-explanatory. LP getting hit is it's kind of preemptive. I mean, we got a couple things on here, I think, that are kind of just like, all right, we're going to be hit. If Konami decides to hit the meta, whether it's a big ban list or a small one, will they do kind of what they did like a year ago? What they hit the top three meta, but then they also hit cards that were like kind of preemptive, like ABC and Totally Awesome come to mind. I think they're going to essentially do that with Dragon Links. They're going to finally put LP in check, just so they can like let the new meta kind of roll in instead of what's already been on the top.
If they ban LP, then that could leave more space for other dragon type support to be released.
Right, exactly. I mean, Red MD coming off the list, I think everybody kind of sees coming because of the errata mainly. But also LP is just, think about it, with like something like Brotar, you have to like kind of extend a little bit to get a search off of him, versus LP, which can be literally any level 4 or lower dragon in the game. Aside from those two, like everything else on this list, I really can't think of anything else that is like ban worthy or that's like wicked problematic.
Let's rip the band-aid off of Dragoon.
Red Eyes Fusion getting banned. No, sorry, we said limited.
We said limited. Like, Konami wouldn't just outright ban the Red Eyes Fusion because it would literally just kill the entire Red Eyes deck itself. Yeah, I think they would put Red Eyes at 1, and I think they would also put Red Eyes Insight to 1 as well, to check the entire, so this way you're not running with 6 Red Eyes Fusions, you're running with 2 at most.
Yeah, there's two ways to go about it, because obviously people kind of think that, oh, we will probably just do what the OCG did. They limited literally all 3, Anaconda, Fusion, and Dragoon. But that doesn't make any sense since considering Anaconda is usually at most a 2 of, and that's only if you're running 2 to 3 copies of Red Eye Fusion in the main deck.
Yeah.
Insight's just there just for control decks that really don't spam out that much, and so the main strategy isn't even to go into Anaconda, but rather Anaconda's an option, but you want to see Red Eyes Fusion. Most combo decks don't even want to ever see Red Eyes Fusion. They want to go into Anaconda instead.
See Anaconda at the end of the turn rather than, at the beginning.
Right, and it just doesn't make any sense to hit all 3 when it's like, well, what's the centerpiece that holds the other 2 together? I mean, why would you have 3 copies of, like, multiple copies of Dragoons and Anaconda when the only card that really matters is limited to 1?
So I think another good limit that you brought up was a hit to Dogmatica Invoke, Magical Meltdown.
I mean, look at Eldritch. It's already up there. We got Scarlet Sanguine up there at 1. Eldritch is pretty much splashable in a lot of decks. Not every deck can run Eldritch, but every deck can try. Invoked is wicked splashable, and it's been around for a long time. The crazy thing about Eldritch is that I've never seen so many variants of a deck, I don't think, in my life. What do we got? We got Numeron, Zodiac, we got Invoked, Dogmatica, and both. And we got also just pure Dragoon. It's ridiculous. I think if they do hit Eldritch, like at least like one of their key pieces, which Sanguine definitely is. I think that if very most, if they wanted to hit like a main deck or pick one of those decks to kind of hit, it would be kind of Invoke Dogmatica, just because it's the most splashable and the most well-rounded. I kind of feel like. And then same thing with Nadir. Like Nadir is like the main starter. Like you've brought up several times when we've talked about like what's the smallest Dogmatica engine you can run. It's like literally one of each of their key monsters and 3 Nadir with punishments. And it's like punishment can either be a 2 of or a 3 of, but everything is connected because of Servant. You cut Servant down to 1, it cuts the deck's consistency. They have to change their ratios a bit. And yeah, no, I mean, I think definitely like Invoke Dogmatica would be like another preemptive hit, similar to Dragon Link, but also Dinos. Hence why we got Miscellaneous at 1, Fossil Dig at 2. I think that'll be another preemptive hit to basically put Dinos in check in case they climb up the ladder again.
Yeah, no, I think definitely Fossil Dig is a solid hit. I mean, they might actually hit the Baby Ceratosaurus, you never know.
At the very most, because TCG at most they ever hit Dinos was Miscellaneous to 1. If they decide to hit Fossil Dig, like to 1 or 2, I would think it would be more when we get Scrap Raptor over here, because something tells me that's going to bump Orcus up in a big way.
So 2 cards that I'd like to say would be hit to 1 as a preemptive strike on either Drytron and on Dogmatic as a whole is both Intis and Herald of the Arclight.
Yeah, the fact that like you can use something like Hulk of Fibrax. Like Hulk of Fibrax could always pull off Herald, no problem. N-Test, and the only thing that's been pushing N-Test has been Dogmatica. But even decks like, even rogue decks like Infernoid, as you well know, can run N-Test pretty easily and get like that double pop. It just comes back to the fact that they're not hard once per turn.
Because we need to talk about a couple more cards that we want to limit as well. Ben 10, for instance, is just a normal call.
Yeah, I think Ben 10 going to 1 is like the best call because we don't even have their Xyz monster yet. I think when we actually do get their Xyz monster, which is essentially a Ben 10 by himself, really, or if not worse in some cases, I think when he comes over here and if the deck is still like kicking butt in numbers and is doing wicked well, then Ben 10 would probably finally get banned. But right now, just as a one of, that's really the only problem with it is that it's not a hard once per turn. Make it a hard once per turn.
Yeah, just a quick errata and we'll call it a day. So let's move on to the releases, actually. You
can explain Kieran. I love the card, but I remember playing against the card, and it's definitely one of those relationships with me and this card. So you can take the lead on that.
Okay, so my whole thing with Kieran coming back to 1 is where is Magispector in the whole set of rogue tier? It's not. I mean, I've been testing it. It's very interesting with Altergeist, but other than that, the deck doesn't really do anything. There's no, real oomph to the deck that it needs. Kieran coming back to 1 really wouldn't change anything in the meta because if Dragoon does stay a meta staple, then Kieran can out 80 targets.
I mean, no, that's a valid point. I mean, there are worse cards nowadays than Kieran. It is easy to say Kieran can be power crept to some extent. I mean, and plus, hey, some people just want to watch the world burn. So yeah, bring it back and let the dice roll. See what happens.
You did bring up a good point though. For Orcust, as of recently, hasn't really been pushing a lot of meta status recently. It's been doing pretty decent at like rogue tier settings and locals very well. But I think that Harpor is a very good card to come back. Would you like to elaborate more?
No, like you said, Orcust really isn't doing that much. It's topping some events, but it's nothing crazy. I mean, that also kind of brings up Tsuchinoko. I mean, Simo brought up in his video a good point that, they might do something like gimmicky, like putting Such to 2 or 3 just because it's a reptile and they're trying to promote the Abyss archetype when that gets released. Who the hell knows? But even something like we had talked about it, like what they could do to help support Orcus, like Harp Horror is a given. Like Harp Horror coming back to 1 would be a nice touch for the deck. And as far as like the dangers, just because dangers were just kind of a staple in Orcus, which ones could come back? And you made good points. You know, Nessie and Jack, they're just wicked good. Whereas Tsuchinoko, like you open up a hand with 2 Tsuchinokos and you try to summon them both, chances are you're only going to get one. You're guaranteeing to get one on the field, not so much getting both. It's too much. It's not going to happen 9 times out of 10. So yeah, I think Snake could at least come back to 2 and try to feel it out. It's not going to do anything. It'll help, but it's not going to be like explosive.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Another thing is Dynamite Knuckle coming back. I believe Draco really hasn't been doing much. I mean, people absolutely hate Masterpiece. I would love to see Masterpiece back at 1, but that's just because I'm a Draco player.
Back to my point, you want to watch the world burn. No, I again, it's one of those love-hate things. Dynamite to 2, and then might as well stretch over to True King's Return coming back to 3. I mean, True King's Return coming back to 3, I think, is on everybody's list. Nobody's really bringing up Dynamite because I don't know. I mean, Dynamite was at 2 once upon a time before they limited it. And now it's like, why not you're already doing it with True King's Return. If that comes off the list, then yeah, start slowly creeping Dynamite Knuckle and see what happens. I mean, nobody's saying Card of Demise should come back to 3 or anything like that, but I mean, you know, just slowly but surely bring True Dracos to full power. And if, you know, you want to slit the throat on that, you can try Masterpiece coming back and then go from there.
I think MBT's last stupid, very amazing Banlist tournament proved that Masterpiece does absolutely nothing in the face of Dragoons.
It's true. It really is. The fact that it's if Masterpiece got like the same kind of buff that Dragoons does when he negates and destroys something, then we'd be having a different conversation. But the fact that he can pretty much be run over by a lot, actually, like pretty much if you can run over Dragoons, like get a big enough body and just steamroll them over, I mean, Masterpiece is pretty much in the same boat.
Yeah, exactly. Sekka's Light coming back to 3, I think, is a very interesting topic.
It was just an idea I had, only because it was like those decks were interesting. Either whether they won or lost, you could definitely say it was like it was worth removing everything except for 3 spell cards from your deck and running like a very heavy monster lineup just to get that +1 in addition to a mulligan in a way for one of your monsters in hand. I don't know. Sekka's Light I never saw was like a problem. The decks like did okay at events, but they never really did anything. They weren't as explosive as grass decks. Like that was a topic you brought up, is that I mean, as much as you and I miss that grass looks greener. No, I just think Sekka's Light would be like the first card that they like try to feel out, because Sekka's Light's not touched in the OCG, right? It's like they don't even care about this card. I don't even know why we would.
Yeah, no, it's literally it's literally at 3 in the OCG.
Yeah. And then I'll let you take the reins on Reasoning coming back to 3, because that's definitely on our wish list. But what's our defense on this?
Okay, so the original reason that Reasoning was limited to 1 was because Cosmos were wreaking havoc on the meta tournaments. Cosmos can just take, complete advantage of your opponent misguessing a level, because they have so many different levels in the main deck. They don't really care what level you pick. If you call one right, oh well, they'll just bring something back with Strawman or something, or Sword Troopers. They don't really care.
Yeah, no, interesting. I actually didn't know it was that it was Cosmo. That was the deck that's why Reasoning got limited. You ask anybody, they'll tell you it was Infernoids, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we would know Infernoids like kicking ass at Worlds or something like that.
So the reason why it wasn't Infernoids is because, as far as I know, now I could be absolutely wrong about this. I'll just state that claim now. Um, Back then, Decatron was not released in the TCG. I think it might have been in the OCG, but as far as I know, it was not released in the TCG yet. So the deck didn't have an extremely good main deck target, so they would normally run Light Sworns in the main deck to help mill to get fuel for the larger Infernoids in the graveyard.
Yeah, and I can vouch for someone that's gotten their butts kicked by Infernoid Mega Mill kind of deck. Reasoning definitely got limited to one before we saw Void Feast, because that would have just been a nightmare and a half. A lot of people were saying a couple Banlist predictions ago that Blaster could come back to one. I mean, he's essentially the only Dragon Ruler that doesn't promote consistency for the archetype. So he's just literally a target and a pop, which most players try to avoid because most cards have protection from both.
I definitely agree that he could definitely come back to one. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, bring all three Dragon Rulers back to three. Fuck it.
I don't know about nuking the game by bringing all three back to three, but I did remember when they were each at one that was a fun format. I actually missed like because we didn't have grass at the time, but it was like a Light Sworn dragon build that ran at least one copy of each, and I remember that was wicked fun. But yeah, I can definitely see Blaster coming back, and he might see play. Like, who the hell knows? You might see him in like Salamangrates or something like that. Hint, hint, Mirage Stalio.
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of Salamangrates, Stalio coming back to one is, yeah, probably a pretty good option, just because what's it gonna do? It's okay, Salads get an extra monster from main deck. It's good for them.
I never saw this card as a 3 of. Most I saw was a 2 of. Like, you hardly saw like them going to a second one unless the game really grind into it. Coming back to 1, they get that first push, and then, you know, if they can grind on their own, they can grind without a second Stalio to back them up. So yeah, let it come back to 1 and just feel the waters out. Pretty much the same thing for Denglong. Denglong was tacked on a lot of decks. Denglong was wicked good, but the what makes Denglong great is the fact that it could search out the counter trap.
We have 2 link monsters over here that we have yet to talk about.
You know what? Firewall is probably the easiest. It got eroded. I mean, you're gonna see this in Cyverse. You're gonna see this definitely in something like Salamangrates, but Cyverse definitely. But even then, it's a hard once per turn now. Firewall Dragon, see how it does at 1. And because at most you still got its quick effect that it can bounce up to 3 cards. So it's literally 3 Kirans in 1 card. The main reason why it got banned in the first place was because of the fact that you could infinitely summon shenanigans like Gratha and pop it with Cannon Soldier and just keep looping like that.
Heavy Metal Foe's Electromite. We are getting a new Pendulum archetype in a new set coming up very shortly. I believe this card is very much a target to come back because it's really not... You can't really abuse it so much anymore. Veiler's a very popular hand trap, so is an Imperm. Nibiru's gonna completely ruin your day.
No, I think yeah, between the hand traps and also the fact that its partner in crime, Astrograph, is also banned. Like that was the biggest pain in the ass was Electromite and Astrograph Sorcerer. If Astrograph was coming off the ban list, then no, this card can stay buried. Nobody's even thinking about Astrograph Sorcerer. That's not even what people want. People want Electromite, yes, because of the new archetype that we're getting for pendulums, but also because Metal Foes just got new support or new cards. And I'm sorry, the new Link 2 that they're trying to throw into that set is laughable. Bring back Electromite just for, if anything, just to promote that. No different than Bardiche. They brought back Bardiche to promote the new Phantom Knight support. Bring back Electromite, give Metal Foes their due, and then if it really starts running amok, see what happens. I mean, we all know that it's no secret Konami was like, literally sees pendulums as the black sheep of the family, but I mean, give them a little bit back. I mean, they had no problem bringing back double Iris Magician to 1. Electromite to 1 is not going to be the end of the world, considering everything else that we're dealing with.
I mean, worst comes to worst, if they're really that worried about it, just hit Servant. Call it a day. There you go. You don't have to worry about Endymion running amok.
I think the only thing we haven't talked about is Call by the Grave.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that one's just kind of self-explanatory. Call by the Grave, as far as I'm personally am concerned, is that it is a lot like Destiny Hero Malicious, where at 3 copies, it is absolutely busted. At 1 copy, it is completely useless.
It's sad almost because it's such a good card and it's so diverse, but it's literally treated like an upstart goblin in most decks, where it's like, crap, I need one more card. I guess I'll throw in Call by the Grave and call it a day. It's like, no, this card freaking gave us a fighting chance against hand traps. You don't talk about it like it's an upstart goblin, you ass.
It's a solid way to just ensure your turn isn't as interrupted. You're not as hurt by stuff like Skullmeister, Droll, and Lockbird for some decks.
One of the main reasons why I didn't bring up Call by the Grave earlier was because I feel like it's almost a moot point, because we're supposed to be getting the new Ghost Rare set, and it's already been leaked that Crosshog Designator is supposed to be in that set. So we are going to be getting it, and I can see them keeping Call by like at least at 1. Maybe they'll bring it back to 2, just to be like, okay, let's see how it'll fare. They might keep it at 1 just to try to sell Cross out or try to sell a set. And then yeah, Call by would probably come off a little bit. But as far as just to stake our claim that, definitely not a 3 of, definitely keep it at 2.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect closing point. So I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me for this lovely video.
Yeah, you know me, man. I love to rant.
Hey, I feel you, man. I love sitting here talking to myself on the internet.
But all right, man. No, thank you for having me as always, and hope you guys have a great night.
All right, please don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Team Chaos Stream. We show some really weird and interesting replays from decks.
Yeah, and shout out to the Coalition. We gotta love those scrubs.
Thank you.